Welcome everybody. It's finally here. I finally got my hands on one of these. What did I get my hands on? I got my hands on the last one of these things at my local Harbor Freight. As I'm sure you've probably already seen by the thumbnail and title of this video, I have now a clone of the Leatherman Wave, and that is the Gordon 20-in-1 multi-tool. I love this tool. This thing is super awesome. Now, I'll admit I do not have a Leatherman Wave to compare it with, 1-to-1. But what I do have is a Leatherman curl, and for sake of the video, I would like to use that for some references, because as we go throughout, I think you'll see why I find this somewhat useful as a comparison here. Starting right off the bat, the pouch really well made. The clasp is almost too strong, and it has loosened up through some use here, but this is a really nicely done pouch. This does fit in some Leatherman pouches. Really nice. And this tool is, I dare say this tool is the same quality as a good Leatherman. This tool has the potential to shake the market. I have seen and I have handled a handful of wave clones, and this is by far the best wave clone that I have come across. So let's get into it. First off, the plier head. This opens really well, and we'll get into that as we go. Now, you may realize right now that this is more like the old Leatherman Wave, or the reason why I brought this tool in, the curl, because of the non-replaceable wire cutters. I'm kind of 50-50 on replaceable and non-replaceable. I do appreciate replaceable wire cutters. If you break them, you can replace them and move on. But also, they do make the plier head a little weaker. So having built-in wire cutters like this makes the plier function of this tool a lot stronger. But these are very narrow. They come up to a very fine hair pulling tip here with next to no play. There's just that tiniest little bit side to side, but you don't really even feel it. You can see it, but you don't really feel it, and that's awesome. Now, I haven't been able to find that old coat hanger to do the coat hanger wire cutting test, but I'm sure it'll do okay. Because something about this that I like more than the Leatherman curl is the depth of the wire cutters and the shape of them as well. As you can see here on the curl, these are very short wire cutters. Over here, these are much longer wire cutters, so you can cut a wider wire with these right off the bat. Also, when closed and you look down the dead center of the multi-tool this way, over here, these wire cutters are parallel to that center line. Over here, these wire cutters tip in a little bit. And we'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see that a little bit closer side to side. You can see that the Leatherman Wave clone has these wire cutters that are longer and also kind of bend inwards, allowing you to be able to catch that wire and really hold it in place while you are cutting it. Whereas over here, the wires can slip out because it's so short and there's no way to really hold the wire in unless you're cutting on the hard wire cutter at the bottom. So that right there is a plus. Now, another part of the plier head is the wire crimper down here at the bottom. On the Leatherman Wave, curl, and many others, they call that a wire crimper, but it's really just the bottom of the pliers that you can use to pinch a wire connector of some sort. There's really not much going on here that says, hey, I am used for something. It's just the bottom of the plier head. Whereas over here, this is actually grooved and notched. Can you hear the knife sliding over that? Like, there's teeth in here that will pinch that down and allow you to hold your whatever you're crimping in place while you crimp it. That is phenomenal. Love it. I will also say that the plier head in general, right off the bat, is just a tad bit beefier than the curl one. Just a tad. Not much. But, you know, it's just a little bit more metal. We're not going to get into metallurgy here too much. This is a good enough, it's like 5CR13 MOV or something. It's a good enough steel for the knife and all that stuff. If you are that snobbish about knife steel, you don't know how to sharpen. Get good at sharpening your stuff. It doesn't matter that much. I understand edge retention and all that. I appreciate metal that holds an edge a long time. But grow a pair and just start sharpening your stuff, okay? That's where I stand on steels to an extent. Now, I do understand there's like Ozark Trail junk that won't last a week. You're going to run out of knife by the time you get good at sharpening. It just, there's this little baseline of adequacy, and this is a perfectly fine steel. We'll roll with it. Now we go into the 4 outside tools. Now, the curl here only has 2, so we're going to have to just kind of guess a little bit here. But I did have a wave long ago, and I ditched it because the screws came apart, and I didn't have security torques to fix it. So I returned it because it was within the 30-day period. Never went back to a Leatherman Wave after that. But the knife blades. The cutout for your thumb is shaped a little differently on these two. That's understandable. But the knife blades are very much comparable here. But something that the Gordon tool does that Leatherman does not is they add a sharpening choil at the base of the knife. We zoom in here, zoom, and we can see a sharpening choil at the base of the tool here. Very nice. Whereas on the Leatherman curl here and on the Leatherman waves, there is no sharpening choil. You would have to add one yourself, and that's just a bugger. So that's a sloppy thing on Leatherman's part that this tool comes out ahead on. And since this is the next tool that is comparable, we'll do the file. Because the curl that I have came with a file. Love the file. Worn that sucker down almost. The files are very, very comparable in many aspects. There is one little detail that we'll get to here in a moment that is different. But both files are aggressive and really, really good. Something I like about this tool is I wouldn't recommend it, but you could possibly use that flattened head here as a flathead driver, whereas on the Leatherman it's so curved you can't really do that. Not that I would recommend it because it's a file and you don't want to break your file because it's too hard for screw driving, but maybe you could in a pinch. Something to bear in mind. Now what we're going to talk about here for a second is the teeth. You can see that these are very gappy, deep-reaching teeth on this tool here. Whereas on the Leathermans, they are there, but they are not so deep and aggressive. Now, I haven't had a chance to cut with it yet, so I'm not entirely sure how that will hold up, but they seem like perfectly fine, you know, metal saw teeth. Something else that I like is that for the teeth side of the file here, it looks like the teeth have been knocked down so that when you're looking at it this way, if you're trying to sharpen something, you know, you're sliding something along to sharpen it or file it down or whatever, the teeth actually angle down and away from that so that you're not going to like cut into what you're filing too much. But they don't do it so much where you can't use it as a saw. It's kind of hard to explain and show it on this camera here, but I feel like you're not going to run into any problems with the teeth. The teeth are awesome. Now here we start losing the similarities on the outside. So we'll set this off to the side for the moment. Like the Leatherman, the main blades, you can tell them which one is which without looking at it. The plain blade is smooth on the back. The serrated blade has some jimping on the back. And that pops open. This tool is still new that this barely does and does not grab when you open it with your hand. It's getting better about grabbing when I open it, so it's just a matter of like breaking it in a little bit. But we have a gut hook on the serrated blade, which you would have to pay a ridiculous price for when you go to get the charge, because it doesn't come on the Leatherman Wave. Like, this is fantastic. And this tool, I didn't mention this at the start, this tool is $40 at Harbor Freight. $40 for Leatherman quality. This is ridiculous. This is getting to be a blow to Leatherman. But this tool here, that serrated blade, is fantastic. It has sliced through a bunch of stuff. It is screaming sharp. The gut hook is fantastic. Love it. Now we go to the saw. The saw, all four of these tools lock up with zero blade play, blade wiggle, anything whatsoever. It locks up. It is solid. And that saw, I've tried it on a dead tree out front of my apartment. It breezes through wood like you wouldn't believe. This is Leatherman and Victorinox quality right here. This sucker does its job well. The teeth on this are phenomenal. It holds up. I will say it was ever so slightly bent out of the box, but it's like almost not noticeable. That's fine. It'll straighten out when you get it warm. Sawing wood, you just kind of bend it over a little bit. That'll be fine. But that is fantastic. Now, on the Leathermans, when you open the plier head of the tool, you will see this little piece right here pop out to keep you from accidentally opening up the knife blade when the pliers are open. Okay, fun, nice little feature there. Little safety so that you don't actually like cut yourself down here on the meaty part of your hand. This tool does it as well, but a slightly different way. It doesn't get in the path of the blade, but when you open it, there is a little tab down in here that will push against the lock bar, keeping you from being able to open that while the pliers are open. So they've added that little safety feature as well. Also, the gap here is a little bit more between the knife and the saw here, which is less on the Leatherman, so you'll still get pinched on this tool, but maybe not as bad as you would on the Leatherman. Bear that in mind. So now, that's like all the outside stuff. Well, the pocket clip, Leatherman Wave does not come with a pocket clip. You have to buy that from the website separately and then add it. This comes with the pocket clip and the pouch right off the bat. And also has the lanyard hole as well that pops out. So you're getting everything there right off the bat. Now, here's the kicker. They actually have flat bits, or a flat bit. They don't have a full bit kit yet from what I see. Hopefully that will be something that will be added. But this is the original bit that came with the tool. It's a little wiggly, partly because for some reason mine came with this little scoop cut out in the metal, and I'm not sure why they did that or if that was just a mistake, but it keeps it from holding in place as well. So we just take that out, put that to the side, and put in the two-sided Leatherman bit, and that works perfect. Now, here is where it gets a little weird, is my Leatherman bit extender doesn't quite want to fit. It goes in a little bit, but it doesn't want to slide in like the bits do. The Galvanox bit extender, which I absolutely hate because it's already rusting and didn't have the feature that I thought it did for holding the bits in. The sucker's garbage. Don't buy it. You see that Galvanox Leatherman bit extender online or on eBay and stuff? Ignore it. This sucker's garbage. But this, it does fit. So, I'm not going to do a whole video on this. This thing doesn't deserve it yet, but it's not good. I don't like it. That's where Leatherman does come out ahead, is that bit extender. So now, let's talk about the bit holders. Leatherman has a spring detent, which is why their bits have a little notch right there about halfway up the bit. And so this little piece on a spring can just kind of pinch in and hold it in place. Very, very solid. You know, this, just as solid, but magnetic here at the bottom. Very, right there at the bottom. I don't know if you can really see it, but there is a little magnet that will touch the tip of whatever tool is going in there, so it holds the flat bit more sturdily than it does the Phillips because there's more metal to hold. But it holds in, and that tool does not wiggle at all. This is fantastic. I love it. I do wish that they would go ahead and just make this a little bit longer so that the bit more of the bit is covered. That's just an aesthetic and possibly functional choice that I wish they would have done, but what they have done here is absolutely serviceable. And it's easy to pull out too. The can opener. And also the curl does not lock. So things could be a little tighter on the curl because they're trying to make a slip joint that doesn't slip, and it's a long story. But the can opener, pretty much the same can opener, works really well. A little less of a hook on the Gordon than on the Leatherman, but I tried it on a can earlier. It works just fine. I don't have a problem with it. The wire stripper notch on the tool is absolutely serviceable. Not a thing wrong with that at all. This is wonderful. Going to the other side, we have the small scissors, the eyeglass driver, and the flathead, which I think we have a different one on the curl because it's not the Leatherman Wave. The Leatherman curl came with an awl, so we'll just talk about this for a moment while I also dig out the eyeglass driver, because I haven't had a chance to see if that fit on mine. I know Dominic over at Max Level EDC, his Leatherman bit did not fit in here, and so I'm just going to see if mine does or does not. And it seems like my Leatherman eyeglass driver does not fit in the Gordon multi-tool. So that's a bit of a bummer there, but what do you expect for 40 bucks? I still think this is a completely serviceable multi-tool. So, with that little hiccup aside, the flat bit on here looks really, really good. The Phillips looks really good, so I'm not going to complain about it just yet. I don't have glasses to work on, or do I? My dad left his Dollar Tree pair of glasses in here. Well, what do you know? The Phillips on the Phillips. Yeah, that actually, nope, that's a flathead down there, so we'll flip that around. My eyes need working on, probably. Yep, that grabs. That works. That eyeglass bit driver there works just fine on eyeglass screws. So that's not a thing to complain about. And I will say you could probably use that as a slight pry tool if you filed it down, if you really didn't want to use it for the eyeglasses or something. But, to each their own. The scissors are the same as one another. They work super, super well. And haven't had a problem with these yet. The Leathermans look maybe just a tad bit beefier, perhaps. But the Gordon, absolutely fine. That leaves the flathead here. So I don't know how it would compare to the Leatherman Wave flathead, because I don't have a Leatherman Wave. But flathead to flathead, the Leatherman's is probably going to be a tad thicker, perhaps. I am not quite sure. But very similar, very serviceable. Nothing wrong with those. So that should be all of the inside tools. We do have a small glass breaker ball here made out of tungsten. Very unique. Kind of a bit of a surprise when it's like right there with the clip, but that's pretty easy. Just pop that open and just go punch like so. But be nice if you could do it with the tool closed. Something to consider. But now here is the kicker of the quality of these tools here, and something that Gordon outdoes Leatherman on by a landslide. Leatherman, as you know, doesn't do a lot of washers. You maybe get one washer between one side here, and you get no washers farther in, and it just makes these tools harder to open, and it's a bugger on Leatherman. Like, the inside tools have no washers in between them. They just slap them together. It's terrible. Whereas here we have screw post, washer, tool, washer, tool, washer, plier head, washer, tool, washer, tool, washer, screw head. There are washers everywhere on this tool, and it just makes it open so smoothly. Not as droppy as a Leatherman Free, but super buttery smooth. And that just makes the inner tools on this guy here just open up so much better, so much easier with less stress. Just having those washers makes it a lot better. This tool here, I feel like has taken the Leatherman Wave and has just punted it out of the playing field. Like this, there's not much competition here. You get the pocket clip, you get a flat driver bit if you're not wanting the Leatherman bits. You've got washers that makes things buttery smooth. There's no blade play in anything, and like when it's closed here, there is no noticeable blade play in the plier heads here when they're closed. No play when they're open. Like, this tool is phenomenal. This is by far the best Leatherman Wave clone I have come across in the history of Leatherman Wave clones. Now, as history is, history continues. So maybe in the future we will come across a better Leatherman Wave. But for now, if you are wanting what I consider to be the best Leatherman Wave clone on the market at this moment, as of July 2024, pretty much, I think we're in June. I shot the gun there. June 2024. It's this Gordon multi-tool for $40. When you consider that the Leatherman Wave is $110, $120, depending on where you buy it, $40 for Leatherman quality, I consider this Leatherman quality. And then you get features that you don't get on the Leatherman Wave. Leatherman Wave, you get the pouch, but you don't get the pocket clip. This comes with the pocket clip. This comes with the gut hook on the serrated blade. Like, why doesn't the Leatherman Wave do that? It's so simple, so easy. Why, if you want the gut hook for package opening or something, why do you got to pay another $100 to get a gut hook? I understand it comes with titanium scales, but another $100, and about the only difference you get is scales and a gut hook. Come on, people. And the tools, like I said, when they open up, they lock up. There is no blade play at all. The one problem I had is this tool doesn't quite lock when you open it. But as time goes and, you know, things go on like there, it clicked. It's getting better. And none of the tools have 100% lockup. They all got about 30 to 50% lockup on the tools. So that means that things can wear down a bit and you'll still have solid lockup. That's just something to consider, people. I think this tool is phenomenal. I love it. This is going to be carried so much. If I'm not going all out and carrying my Surge clone here, which side by side, it's a night and day difference of size here that you're dealing with. This is pouch only. That Gordon tool can be pocketed. I carry that in my pocket, and it's fantastically comfortable. It might be a little bit thicker than a Leatherman Wave due to the washers, but it's not that much thicker that you got to worry about it. And this thing, it's taken some abuse already. I have cut some stuff with it. It's working really well. I haven't found that old coat hanger. I need to find that old coat hanger and cut it. But this tool, it works. It looks good. It handles good. The fit and finish is unbelievably good. Go watch Dominic's videos. I'm going to tag him in this video here. Go watch his videos. This tool is awesome. And shout out to the Corinth, Mississippi Harbor Freight. Because I walked in there and I was like, I need to find this Gordon multi-tool. 21 multi-tool. Do you guys know anything about it? One of the newer cashiers was trying to find it. She couldn't find it. No problem on her. She's new. Then we went over to this other lady that's been there since the store opened. And I said, Gordon 21 multi-tool. She was like, yes. I know exactly what you mean. And she went straight to the back. Got this. This was the last one. They sold out of their multi-tools before they even had a chance to put up the spot for them on the shelves. So you go into your Harbor Freight and you don't see these, they've either sold out or they haven't had a chance to put them up yet. Go check them out. These suckers are awesome. And shout out to the Corinth Harbor Freight crew. They are all fantastic people. Great service. I love them. So, with that said, hope you found this video useful, informational. I hope it helps you build your EDC to your standards. And until the next time, farewell, carry well, and bye-bye.